What about the mental health of your drivers? I mean, everyone's suffering, but the black cabbie has to sit alone and maybe go an hour without a fare. And what is it like out there?
Well, I was driving a cab in 1990 when we had the big recession in 1990. Well, the biggest recession ahead of this one, and just after the first Gulf War. And the worst thing about it wasn't even necessarily the money you earn, although that was obviously a contributory factor, but the worst of it was you just spent hours driving around and around trying to find a rank, looking for a fare. That is the worst. You're stuck in this little box on your own, with only your own thoughts. And when you're not talking to anyone, you've not got anywhere to go, you're just on autopilot. You're constantly churning your mind, all the problems. How am I going to pay this bill? How am I going to pay that bill? What am I going to do with the cab? All of those things become major, major problems. Whereas if you're busy, you're thinking of other things. I'm chatting to people in the cab, I'm going here, and that is the biggest issue. And that's the biggest concern that we've got for our members at the moment. The other big concern that we've got is that we have to drive that unique vehicle. A London cab has to be able to turn in 25 feet. A gentleman of 5'8" has to be able to wear a top hat in the back. I mean, I've never picked anyone up in a top hat, but they have to sit in the back of the cab. And at the moment, we've got one manufacturer who make this great new electric vehicle. Pre-COVID, we were buying these new cabs at the rate of 50 a week. London cabbies, individual businessmen, had invested £300 million in just over 18 months in buying these new electric cabs. Every cab in London now takes credit cards, as you know, and contactless, and we were doing really well. We were seeing a real resurgence of the London cab trade, the renaissance, if you like. People loved the new cabs, they liked the contactless, and we were doing very, very well. The firm that make the cab in Coventry were built with £350 million of government funding, the most modern advanced car plant in Europe. And at the moment, they're not selling any cabs because none of my members are at work. So they're not going to rush out and spend 65 grand on a cab, especially on their earnings at the moment. I worry that factory that makes these cabs isn't going to be around. If we lose the vehicle, no one else is going to come in to make one. So now London has no longer got a manufacturer of its iconic vehicle. Without the iconic vehicle, the mayor is going to have to relicense old diesel cabs or whatever he's going to have to do, or we'll lose the wheelchair accessibility, another unique status. We can take 2 wheelchairs. We're going to lose the turning circle. We're all going to be driving modified transit vans, or people carriers or whatever we wind up driving. The same vehicles that the private hire industry use, the black car industry, the black cabin. We would wind up in that situation. London would lose its icon forever. And that is my biggest concern at the moment, is we lose the vehicle, we lose our identity, and we're gone forever. 350 years we've been around, and I've got members who remember Oliver Cromwell, who licensed us. Americans are not good on British Civil War, but
I know Oliver Cromwell.
Cromwell licensed us for the first time in 1654 or something, and we'll be gone. And it is that desperate. And I spend all my days now writing to politicians. I'm writing 8-10 letters a day to the Chancellor, to business secretaries, to transport secretaries. I spend a lot of my time on Zoom meetings with various ministers, and I'm telling them this and it's just not sinking in. What I've now done is I've now written them all, including the mayor and everybody at City Hall. I've sent them what I call my D&G letter, my doom and gloom letter, and I'm telling them that if this carries on, that scenario I've just laid out to you, is a very real possibility. And what I don't want is to be in that situation in a year, 18 months, 2 years' time, where they say to me, we'd known. I didn't know, because they all know, because I've told them. And I will be standing up everywhere telling them it's on you, because you knew and you did nothing about it. And it's not just the COVID, it's the road closures that are killing us. Business is about confidence. How can my members have the confidence to invest £65,000 in a vehicle, knowing that there's many, many streets, an increasing number of streets that they can't drive down and places they can't get to? It's killing confidence in our business. It will kill the sales of these cabs. It will cancel their dreams of a clean electric future. I mean, we were in the position where I was predicting that by the end of 2024, London would have had a completely electric taxi fleet. We would have had the best cab service in the world, the only wheelchair accessible cab service in the world, totally electric, cleanest cab service in the world, That's where we were heading, and we were heading there fast. And now it's all flipped on its head, and I'm telling you that we might not even be in.